Guys, Joe Drake here with the AXIOM Fitness Academy, and the dumbbell incline press is actually probably my favorite pressing variation, and part of that is because I, like so many people, have had some previous shoulder issues and shoulder injuries, and the mechanic of it actually feels better for me than flat bench pressing. But we'll kind of get into that. First thing, important when you guys are setting up dumbbell incline press, which is, again, it's a really nice in-between between that horizontal pressing motion and our vertical pressing motion. And so many people have trouble going directly overhead. And so the incline press, dumbbell incline press, really nice way to still hit a solid amount of anterior shoulder, still getting some upper pecs, with it being a little easier on the shoulder. So you got a couple things when it comes to setup. You know, obviously your bench is gonna have to dictate that as well. Right now though, this Perform Better Extreme Bench, I've got set up at 45-degree angle, which is a pretty good place to start. And I'd say for most people, 45 degrees to like 30 degrees based on, you know, this bench actually has it marked for you. All right, where right now I'm set up at 45 degrees so you guys can see that nice angle. For someone who does occasionally, maybe they've had some previous issues with shoulder injury, maybe bringing them down a little bit, you'll find that it ends up being a nice angle for the shoulder. So that's one thing as a coach and trainer, as we're looking at the incline, the benefit is it is gonna give us a little bit more shoulder flexion, right? We're getting a little bit more of that vertical press without having to go straight overhead. It's a nice angle, but you're gonna have to fine tune for each individual person, because just like when we squat and our squat positions, our foot positions, our hip positions, they're all different. It's really the same thing for pressing. You gotta think about that. It's kind of the same joint system. So right now I'm set up at 45 degrees. If you are going on incline, it's pretty important. Most of your benches have the ability to adjust this bottom portion, and you're probably gonna want to, because as we get set up, what happens for a lot of people when we get set up, if we don't have this nice supported bench, the bottom portion, our seat that's also inclined up, we end up kind of sliding down and creating this space in between our back. And really what we're doing is we're relieving some pressure from the back, and we're getting that mechanical advantage by turning it more into a flat press. So really, when I'm coaching and cueing, or when you're coaching and cueing someone to get set up here, you really wanna have the feet planted solid into the ground, all right? And while we're pressing, we wanna focus on trying to keep that back pushed into the bench. If there's a little bit of natural curvature, obviously that's the human body. We've got a little lumbar curvature of the spine. We just don't wanna be pressing either up off the seat or sliding down to change the angle, all right? So a couple things that, until you really get someone into doing the exercise, we don't always think about, but is first off, just getting into position and then getting out of position in a way that's gonna be easy on the shoulders, rather than try to rip this up right away. First off, having them start from the knees, and this is part of just teaching them to do the exercise as well. Start from the knees and then kicking that knee up one at a time just to get into a good position, because especially as they start working with heavier weights, doing that position right here where there's almost some like external rotation of the shoulder just can be kind of challenging on that joint. So boom, driving up with the knee right to the opposite side, planting the feet nice and solid into the ground so we're generating that stability, and then head and shoulders back against the bench. Now, the big question here is where are our elbows gonna go? And I'm gonna start from the top to be able to show you guys. So there's a lot of variation here based on maybe what muscle group we're trying to really attack, whether it's more shoulders and triceps, or we're trying to still integrate more upper pecs. But again, it's kind of like our squat position. You gotta find the right position for everyone's individual shoulders. Most times, we're not ideally often gonna go real wide with the elbows. Now, a lot of people will do that because what they're trying to achieve is a greater stretch on the pecs. But oftentimes what happens, and everyone's joints are gonna be different for the shoulders, oftentimes we place more stress on that anterior deltoid on the shoulder. So you'll find most people, it's very much like most of our pressing variations when it comes to push-ups, horizontal pressing, somewhere around 45 degrees is like a good place to start. And then let them play with it a little bit, a little closer, a little further out. I tend to find wherever the mechanic looks the best and they feel strongest is usually a pretty good place to start. Now, obviously, if they feel strong in a weird position, you're the coach and trainer. But either way, boom, we're kicking those up. I like to start from almost a 45-degree angle here as well. And then nice, slow control. Now, how low we go with the dumbbell, that's really gonna be up to the client, right? Up to range of motion, limitations. It could be, for some individuals, getting to a place where we're getting around that 90 degrees. But if you've got healthy shoulders, just like squatting deep, if you've got healthy hips, there's nothing inherently dangerous about going to a complete range of motion closer to the shoulder, all right? But you can see my elbows are kind of at an angle. Now, if I were to bring them in tight, that might be a little bit more triceps and shoulders, but we're going for just an overall dumbbell incline press, all right? Feet planted in, nice and stable on that bench. Slow control down, right in line with the shoulders, somewhere in here based on how it feels. Exhale, driving right back up to the top. Now, just like we talked about getting in position for our dumbbell incline, also coming down from it, all right? So rather than just dropping these to the ground and yanking on my shoulders, ideally bring them down to the shoulders and then up with those knees. Just gonna make it a little easier on their back and make sure that they're getting out of the exercise in a good position. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of people end up getting hurt. So dumbbell incline press, really, really great exercise. Play with the angle of the bench, obviously to fit the muscle group that you're really trying to attack, as well as the mechanics of the individual you're training.